Hello, good morning, and welcome to the TR6CC channel, coming to you from the Fallout Shelter Garage. My name is Glenn, and today we're going to take a look at the TR6 and the new intake manifold that arrived, and take a look at the new aluminum valve or cam cover, which has been installed on the vehicle. The installation went pretty well, and I did put new bolts in that no longer have the threaded portion on top of them, and I didn't have to do anything funky in terms of cutting them. And the actual shoulder on the bolts is actually a little bit bigger, so I think overall much cleaner installation and everything else. The manifold that arrived came from an outfit, CNC Innovations, out of Malaysia, and the manifold is really designed for those people who are doing 2.5 liter conversions into Mazda Miatas. So the reason that I decided to go with this versus the individual throttle bodies, which are currently on the car, is I still have some kind of wild visions in the future that I'm going to turbocharge this thing. And so by having this manifold on the car, it should make that process, well, nothing is ever easy, but it should make the process better because then everything will be set up. It also allows me to run some additional vacuum lines and to run the map sensor, which I think I may have mentioned in a previous video. So overall, you know, it's really just kind of improving what I would consider the drivability of the car. I'm going to move off camera here real quick and just grab a piece. I think I'd also mentioned when I did a startup the other day that the car tends to run rich until it warms up. And that's because it doesn't have an air bypass valve in it. So this is a Ford 2-wire air bypass valve, and that's important because depending on the style of air valve and the magnet in it, you can have a 4-wire setup, and my ECU is only really programmed to handle a 2-wire setup. So I got this off of my favorite supplier, Amazon. I hate to support Jeff, but I do like the fact that if you buy something at Amazon, it's generally really easy to return it, and you know, can't complain about the delivery. Anyway, I did, kind of hard to tell, but I did manage to thread this particular device is actually designed to bolt onto a Ford intake manifold, and then it allows the air to bypass the throttle body. At least that's some of the styles. In this particular case, what I've done is just threaded both of these holes, and believe it or not, 3/8 national pipe thread. I have a set of taps. The hole was perfect size for it, so tapping it out was really relatively easy. I have marked that this is will eventually be the vacuum side, and this will be the air supply. And the reason is that the way the plunger is designed, if you're pulling vacuum on it, it pulls the plunger down. So by having the vacuum side pull, it helps to keep the plunger down. When the ECU says, hey, I need air, bypass the system, it pulls essentially the plunger up, and as a result of that, everything works pretty good. So I have the ECU that I have actually has some additional, I guess the best way to describe it is circuits or lines that can be used for different purposes, and so one of those is for an air bypass valve. So eventually this will get mounted onto the Triumph in some way, and then of course this will be plumbed up to the vacuum side on the intake manifold. On that note, let's see, we'll take a look at the manifold. And it's probably going to be better if I take the camera and just kind of go back, but essentially this is the manifold. This particular one, in fact, let me just move the camera around and it'll be easier if I just do this. Okay. So there we go. Let me just zoom. I don't think I'm zoomed in, so I'll just make sure I'm zoomed out. All right, so this is the manifold that comes, and as you can see, this particular plate here, CNC, the company that built this, they can actually manufacture this plate in different sizes. This is actually drilled out. These holes are metric, 6mm by 1.0 threads, and it's designed to take a 60mm throttle body, or 60 miller throttle body that I'll buy from a company in the UK. I haven't bought it yet because I want to make sure everything fits, because it's a pretty significant investment. But it allows for a manual throttle body, and it allows me to use the throttle positioning sensor that I already have in the car. So as you can see, it is drilled for the intake injectors, and it did come with a fuel rail, but unfortunately the fuel rail, which would normally sit in this orientation, the holes are not drilled correctly in terms of the size. So in my particular case, I can't use this fuel rail because these holes are actually too small for the standard Miata injectors that I'm using, which is kind of a bummer. I haven't reached out to the company yet to see what to do about that. And I will reach out to them eventually, but it might be not so much about that, but maybe changing the design of this housing. They do have a variation of this housing that they show on their website, where the orientation of the throttle, the actual throttle body itself, can actually be almost in line, or if you will, perpendicular to the surface of the head. That might have some benefits when it comes to mounting this within the vehicle. So for right now, what I've decided to do is I'm going to go, and I've already ordered the parts, but I'm going to use a throttle body that will bolt the injectors directly to the head. And actually, we'll wander over to the 6 and take a look. That'll actually be a little bit better, because what you'll end up doing is getting the fuel injected more directly into the cylinders. So as you can see, this is the current configuration in here, the individual throttle bodies. This is the fuel rail is up here, and here's my pressure gauge. So I've got supply coming, and then the return over on this side. Got to make sure that you can actually see what I'm pointing at. In this particular case, you can see the injectors are here, and they actually mount into the throttle body in a similar fashion, or into the individual throttle bodies, kind of in a similar fashion as to the new piece that I got. And the reason I got the new piece is because I like the idea of having them out here, because it meant that I wasn't going to have to change anything. The original throttle bodies on this head, or the injectors, excuse me, actually go where these plugs are. So I actually had to buy these plugs and put them in, and now I've got to take them out. And so I'm not really looking forward to it. Now the good news is that the way they were machined, the center of them is pretty easy to identify. So eventually, likely what I'll do is just drill into them, thread them, and then just try and pull them straight out. But in order to do that, I've got to pull the existing throttle bodies off and plug the fuel rail and everything else. So that'll come when I feel like taking the car off the road for just a little longer. You can see the new cam cover on the top of the vehicle, or the engine. Everything worked out nicely. It's this nice aluminum now. I have the individual coilover plugs installed, and the new wiring harness that went along with that. So again, that all came out really nice, and good clean installation. One of the reasons I wanted to get a new cam cover is that the old one that I had, the bushing or seal here, didn't actually seal. This is the variable cam adjuster. It didn't actually seal very well here, and I actually ended up having a tie wrap around here to pull it tight. Didn't leak a lot of oil, but it still was annoying to have oil spewing out of there. So this new cam cover has eliminated that particular problem for me. You can see it's got the vent off there. Prior to this, I had the vent over to this catch can. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do there. Clearly, if I turbocharged it, you're going to need a catch can. But for right now, I think that'll actually work better, and I'll just pull the line, this line off the catch can, and just leave it in place. But there you go. That is the current update. I'll go ahead. I should have brought over the intake manifold, but I'll show you one of the reasons why I'm a little concerned about clearance and why I may end up having to do something different. So believe it or not, I did do all the measurements, and everything should fit. but you know, famous last words. And let's see, I have no idea how I'm going to do this effectively. Yeah, in fact, well, here we go. Let's I'm going to be very cautious here because I don't want to drop anything and cause myself to lose a mating surface. But let's see if we can, how is this going to look? Yeah, I probably should have planned this out before I did it, but nonetheless, let's see what we're looking at here. Okay, and I think you've got a good view. All right, so try and do this and see if it comes into play here. So here, okay, not quite. All right, best laid plans, mice and men. All right, so here is the new intake manifold, and you can see it would sit here. Currently, right now, it hits the dual master cylinder, but of course, this piece will actually be well below here. And so when you line up the surfaces and everything else, in theory, this surface, when mounted down here, will follow kind of the contour of the fender well, and it shouldn't be a problem. However, you can see that if this surface were up a little bit, then the throttle body would come straight off, and then you could actually run it through into the front shroud, and then potentially put an intercooler in the front there as part of the eventual turbo project. So again, once I get the current intake off, I'll check this out, make sure what the dimensions look like, and if necessary, I may ask the company that made this if they can just manufacture this top piece with the perpendicular or flush. Boy, not saying it very well, but you get the general idea. But anyway, so look for that coming up in the next couple of weeks as I take off the current setup and then go back and get everything else squared away. But that's it for today's little adventure. Like, subscribe, and I'll look forward to talking to you guys next week about what we've done, what's next on the project, and how this thing might actually fit. Just a quick update on the shop itself, or the Fallout Shelter Garage. For the most part, I've gotten the shop pretty much cleaned up and in good shape. There's obviously still stuff on top of the benches, but you know, for the most part, I've got all of the the drill press and all the other mechanical devices set up nicely. You know, finally put a tray over here for all of the stuff associated with the air compressor. And then I have a 5-year-old that occasionally comes to visit me in the shop, and I was a little concerned on the saw here. I think I mentioned to you that this is the swag base, and this is one of the greatest things that I ever bought. You know, having this portable bandsaw, it's fantastic. And it operates on this foot pedal. The problem is that in order to have the foot pedal work, you end up having a piece of Velcro that holds the trigger, if you will, for the saw. Now, certainly you could undo that, but that becomes a certain pain in and of itself. So I happen to have this push-button emergency switch, and was able to easily, in fact, everything I had here was just sitting around in the garage. So essentially what happens is when you turn this, well, here, let me start it from the beginning. So normally, when I'm not using it, you just push the button in, and then you can hit the foot pedal and you can hit it all day and nothing will happen. The idea is that if the 5-year-old came over and just for some odd chance happened to step on the pedal and put their hand up here, I was really concerned that something might happen. So with the emergency switch now, as soon as I'm done using it, I just hit the switch and it turns off. But turn the switch and everything works, you know. So again, just probably a little bit of overkill there. You know, obviously I should just supervise the little guy if he's ever over here. But, you know, nonetheless, sometimes you can't keep your eyes on a kid all the time. So with this in mind now, I feel a lot better that should he come over and just inadvertently step on something, that nothing's going to happen. And then just as part of the whole lift process and everything else, I've been, you know, organizing where things sit and will eventually be in the garage. I have a power washer down here, but the shop is about, gosh, almost 300 feet from the house. So there's no running water down here. So this tank functions, you know, you just hook the hose up to the power washer, which is over here. And then you're easily able to power wash and clean the cars and everything else. I have it hooked up to a Merlin reel. I know that at some point in time the seals in this reel are going to go because of the high pressure. It's been working fine and it hasn't been a problem. And when that eventually does happen, I'll still leave the hose on the reel, but what I'll do is just have a mechanism so that I can put a quick disconnect, and once I unreel the hose, I'll hook it up to the pressure washer and then everything will be fine. So that's why I have this so many 35-gallon water tank down here. Eventually, it was ironic that I bought this ladder. I think this is an 8. Oh gosh, I can't remember the exact size, but it's on here someplace. Yeah, so this is an 8-foot ladder. I had a 6-foot ladder when I installed the lift, and man, I was like, well, that would have really been nice just to have had the extra 2 feet. But I have the other ladder up at the house, but now I have a place here, and I just bought some hangers from, again, Amazon. I have just a basic Gorilla step stool, which is fantastic, because a lot of times, you know, you just need to reach up a little bit, and, you know, bringing the ladder out doesn't make any sense. And then the last thing I have is the ergo chair. And in my lift buying process, originally I was going to go with, maybe you've seen them, the Max Jack. And they only lift the car, yeah, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet. So, you know, you then have to have something to get under the car. So with that in mind, I thought, oh, the ergo chair will be perfect. Okay, I decided to go with a taller lift and everything else, but I still like the idea of having the ergo chair because, you know, I don't have to have the lift all the way up when I'm working on a car. You know, I can get it to a comfortable height, and then I can use the ergo chair and just do my work underneath it. So again, pretty good setup there. So, but this is really, you know, just getting everything mounted in a way that it's easy to use. I got the 2 floor jacks. The Ducati, eventually I just need to sell it. But in the meantime, it's tucked away here nicely. Got a couple dehumidifiers in the garage, and then of course the engine hoist, and then some jack stands. So anyway, well, again, sorry, that was once I get going and starting to show the shop, I'm actually pleased with the progress I've made in, you know, the last couple of weeks. It's really come a long way, and it's getting much tighter and everything else. I actually got the payphone working again, so I can actually call out now on it, which is fantastic. One of the things is I hate to have stuff sitting around that doesn't actually work. So even though the payphone looks pretty neat, it had to actually work, and it does ring, and you can now make calls on it. Of course, if you get anybody who's young enough, they're stumped by how to actually use it, which is kind of fun. But anyway, all right. Well, on that note, I'll say goodbye for now. Cheers. Again, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Subscribe and like, and we'll catch you next week with the continuing sagas of the TR6 and what I've got going on here in the Fallout Shelter Garage. Thanks again. Bye.